Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. You often hear people say the news is full of lies. After more than 30 years in the middle of it, we could tell you stories. The best you can hope for in the news business at this point is the freedom to tell the fullest truth that you can. But there are always limits. And you know that if you bump up against those limits often enough, you will be fired for it. Free speech is the main right that you have. Without it, you have no others. See you soon.
He's back. This video is brought to you by TatumStore.com. TatumStore.com. Get the merch link in the description section. Get you one of these 2-gender shirts right now. Just put in 2 genders. Number 2, spell out genders. Not like this, but spell out genders with an S on the end. 2 genders. You get 25% off this shirt. Go to the store right now. Link is in the description section. We got a whole bunch of other stuff that you can get on the store as well. Like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you get notifications anytime I go live, make a video. Make sure you still subscribe to this channel. Like this video. Comment on this, share this video. Let's get in this. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome back to the Officer Tatum Show. I want to touch back or touch base with what I was saying about Tucker Carlson. I was wondering why Tucker Carlson didn't join a huge conglomerate to present his show like a Daily Wire or The Blaze, or one of these organizations that specialized in digital outlets and have some pretty prominent voices on there. I think that Daily Wire got Jordan Peterson as one of their hosts that he hosts their podcast. And I'm surprised that Tucker wouldn't move in that direction and he would go to Twitter. That's one thing that's kind of interesting to me. One could be this, and let me get down to the financial side of it, because I think a lot of people that may not be in this world may not understand the financial breakdown of when you work for big companies versus having your own stuff. So somebody like myself, I own all of my social media. I own all of my merch store and distribution and all of that stuff. I own all of those companies. And so whenever I do something that generates revenue, I get 100% of profit back to my company. When you begin to work with major organizations, they want to own you to a certain degree. Or if you partner, they want to split with you 50-50. And so you do the work, and these companies will say, okay, we'll get half and we'll give you half. And that could be the difference between somebody like Tucker. Like you would be an absolute failure financially if you had as much leverage, power, and influence like Tucker and you partner with somebody 50-50. Because it's impossible for any company to bring 50-50 revenue, or at least 50-50 of an effort and a platform to somebody like Tucker. It's impossible. It's almost like, you going to work and somebody giving you boots to wear at your job and saying, hey, I gave you those boots, so I get 50% of everything you do at work today. It's kind of like, okay, come on, bro. I can go find some other boots and make my own boots with the amount of money I have and influence. So I can see why Tucker may not have gone with a big organization. It's probably have his own team set up, studio, everything onboarded onto the Twitter account. So it's broadcast on Twitter, but it's not owned by Twitter, if that makes sense. So that kind of gives a little bit of a perspective. He in his video, and I may have his video somewhere over here.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. You often hear people say the news is full of lies, but most of the time that's not exactly right. Much of what you see on television or read the New York Times is in fact true in the literal sense. It could pass one of the media's own fact checks. Lawyers would be willing to sign off on it. In fact, they may have. But that doesn't make it true. It's not true. At the most basic level, the news you consume is a lie of the stealthiest and most insidious kind. Facts have been withheld on purpose, along with proportion and perspective. You are being manipulated. How does that work? Let's see. If I tell you that a man has been unjustly arrested for armed robbery, that is not, strictly speaking, a lie. He may have been framed. At this point, there's been no trial, so no one can really say. But if I don't mention the fact that the same man has been arrested for the same crime 6 times before, am I really informing you? No, I'm not. I'm misleading you. And that's what the news media are doing in every story that matters, every day of the week, every week of the year. What's it like to work in a system like that? After more than 30 years in the middle of it, we could tell you stories. The best you can hope for in the news business at this point is the freedom to tell the fullest truth that you can. But there are always limits. And you know that if you bump up against those limits often enough, you will be fired for it. That's not a guess, it's guaranteed. Every person who works in English language media understands that. The rule of what you can't say defines everything. It's filthy, really, and it's utterly corrupting. You can't have a free society if people aren't allowed to say what they think is true. Speech is the fundamental prerequisite for democracy. That's why it's enshrined in the first of our constitutional amendments. Amazingly, as of tonight, there aren't many platforms left that allow free speech. The last big one remaining in the world, the only one, is Twitter, where we are now. Twitter has long served as the place where our national conversation incubates and develops. Twitter is not a partisan site. Everybody's allowed here, and we think that's a good thing. And yet, for the most part, the news that you see analyzed on Twitter comes from media organizations that are themselves thinly disguised propaganda outlets. You see it on cable news, you talk about it on Twitter. The result may feel like a debate, but actually the gatekeepers are still in charge. We think that's a bad system. We know exactly how it works, and we're sick of it. Starting soon, we'll be bringing a new version of the show we've been doing for the last 6.5 years to Twitter. We'll be bringing some other things too, which we'll tell you about. But for now, we're just grateful to be here. Free speech is the main right that you have. Without it, you have no others. See you soon.
But in his video, he had made mention that he's tired of the mainstream media lying. And they're not lying outright, meaning that they're not directly standing in front of you and telling a bold-faced lie. What they're doing is they're being deceptive. So a black man was shot unarmed today by the police. That is a fact. But then they leave out the fact that he had a gun and he dropped the gun while he was getting shot. So technically he's unarmed. And then they like for instance, they said, and they lied about this, but the young girl, Ma'Khia Bryant, they went all on the media and said he shot an unarmed 16-year-old girl. Well, it was a lie because she was attempting to stab another girl, had a knife in her hand, going for the girl's jugular. And that cop, I don't know how he did it, got out, put 2 rounds on her without hitting the other girl, and she went down. Unfortunately, she died. But they lied about that. They were deceptive. You know, Donald Trump said that there's good people on both sides. They know Trump didn't say that. They have the transcript of the entire speech. Many of them were there when he gave the speech. And they know he said, I'm not talking about neo-Nazis or white supremacists. So did he say there's good people on both sides? Yeah, that's true. That's a fact. But is that the context of what he said? And are they leaving out in significant portions of what he said to gear towards a narrative? And that's the problem that Tucker Carlson was explaining about the media that he was a part of, but I'm sure that he probably didn't like it when he was there in the first place. But I think that's the biggest problem with society today. You know, I don't mind bringing people on my show that disagree with me. Matter of fact, I look forward to people that disagree with me. But you cannot be a talk show host, a radio host, a pundit that is exclusively blotting out the other opinions in order to lure your audience into only believing your perspective. That's why I allow people that disagree with me on, so you can hear the other side and you can hear me debunk the other side. Versus me saying, I'm going to hide you from this other side because I don't want you to ever know. It's like, no, get exposed to it. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. It's rare. I've been wrong before.